Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Wheels Boy Chat, and we have a bit of a throwback because we are welcoming one of our favorite and oldest, not age-wise, but historically
as well.
earliest, yes, earliest guest, Mr. Mark Andrews, a beloved former member, still in our hearts member of the Wheels Boy team, who is visiting us here in China after having moved back to the UK. And Mark, since I last saw you, you became a published author.
I did indeed.
Allow me to show to the audience the beautiful Driving the Dragon, the Extraordinary Rise of the Chinese Car Industry, which I have read and enjoyed, and I highly recommend if you want to better understand the journey that the Chinese car industry has gone through over the course of the last decade and a half or so, because you were there, shall we say, at the beginning of this era, in the early, in the aughts? What was your first Chinese car review?
Okay, so it all began with the actual reviewing of cars in 2007.
Wow.
But my history with China goes back even further. So I first came to China in 1994, and then again in 2000. So I was interested in cars in those days, even though I wasn't necessarily test driving cars or even writing. So I always took stock of what was actually around me and what cars I was seeing. So that sort of is reflected in the book. But yeah, where it all really begins is with the Rowe 750, which was based on the old Rover 75, which came from the UK.
Thematically appropriate considering your own origins.
Precisely.
So your first reviews were of these early Chinese internal combustion engine vehicles, but then also soon after that, you were there for the very beginning stages of what we'll call China's electric revolution.
Oh, yeah. So I visited BYD in 2010.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I think I was probably the first foreign journalist to ever get hold of the E6.
Yes.
When I got it, it wasn't even on sale. It was, I think they had around about 200 of them working as taxis in Shenzhen. And what I got was a very basic model. So often the pictures you see of the interior of the E6 has a screen and things like that inside it. Well, there were no such luxuries in the version I drove, and quite honestly, it was almost as if it was stuck together with, I don't know what the audience will understand, but we have in the UK something called blue tack, which is like a kind of gum-type substance that you just stick things together with.
A kit car feel.
Yes, very much so.
Pre-production.
The thing is, though, it worked. It was very evident that the technology, even though the quality of the E6 wasn't there, the technology behind it was there. And that, I think, was something that was very evident.
Yeah, and then you know, through your own reviews and then through working with us years later, obviously got to watch as these cars went from, you know, stuck together with blue tack, but kind of the core principles were there, to what we see now, which is obviously China leading when it comes to electric vehicles. I mean,
yes, very
head and shoulders above everybody. So it's funny, I know that today you are here in China doing a bunch of different things, but you're doing a bunch of different reviews while you're here, a bunch of articles, and you drove up in the Mona M03 from XPeng. Yes. So it's very funny to think about you having gone from the E6, which was essentially a stuck together thing like motors and battery, to the Mona, which is obviously a much more...
Well, on the front cover is a BYD seal.
It is,
and
yes.
It's not necessarily evident unless you are familiar with the cars.
Yes.
And I think that is actually an indication of so much how BYD has come from the E6 to, say, the seal.
Absolutely.
And I think we actually drove the seal at about the same time, didn't we?
Yeah.
And I was so pleasantly surprised by the seal. Going into the test drive, I thought, yeah, it looks quite good, but I didn't expect how well it drove.
No.
It blew me away. Wow. We took it on these mountain roads in Shenzhen, and this thing can really hold the road, and it's fun to drive. And I was so surprised by that, particularly given the price of it.
I was blown away when I drove the Seal. I mean, it was one of those early Chinese cars that really left a strong impression on me and made me go like, oh man, wow, they might actually be able to do something other than make really high-tech interiors and something that's reasonably comfortable and high spec. They might be able to make something that actually can drive. And in subsequent years, an increasing number of Chinese brands have proven that they can do that. So I know, for example, that um, since you came here, you drove the Xpeng P7, which is a good example of what these brands are capable of. And so I think at this point, it's for those of us who have driven them, it is no longer a question of whether a Chinese brand can make a car that not only has the interior and features or whatever, but also the driving experience. So that does bring us around to the modern day, so to speak. And I'm curious to get your take on a few things that are happening. Obviously, you now come back to China, we'll say about once every year. So you
Yes.
get these, you're obviously paying attention to the Chinese car industry. I know you write about it, but it's interesting to come back and see it for yourself. So you get these snapshots.
Yes.
There's first, though, before we get into the big picture, I want to talk about a couple of, one in particular, big news pieces that just came out. So we just learned yesterday that, or just a few days ago, that Polestar has recently announced that they are closing all of their physical locations here in China. Are they dead or what?
Well, interestingly, I was doing a podcast a few weeks ago, and I actually said that they had withdrawn from the Chinese market. So I was actually wrong about that. Effectively, they have by closing all their stores. And you hardly see a Polestar in China. It's such a rare car. And that's also partly what I mentioned in the book about a lot of these manufacturers having far too many brands. And there is not necessarily much differentiation between these brands. Geely is one of the main offenders.
The worst culprits, yes.
SAIC is also very much a case of it as well.
Plenty. Yeah, I think, well, I agree with you.
And Chery as well, to an extent as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, we could probably point to all of them at this point. First of all, it's always good to give you an opportunity to correct yourself. I always appreciate doing that myself. Rarely do I get a chance to. But I agree. I mean, at this point, they're not officially gone, but they may as well be.
Yeah, it's good as, yeah.
I think that when it comes to selling cars, whether you're in China or anywhere else, these physical locations, these experience centers, as they're often called here in China, are vitally important to getting in front of customers because there is such a glut of brands and of cars and options for buyers that if you don't have, I mean, they've got to go to the mall and they've got to walk by the Polestar store and go, and then go walk in.
Yes.
If you can't do that, you're effectively, you're dead in the water.
Well, one thing you mentioned about the all these brands, yeah. I keep driving around and like, what is that? What's that? And like trying to identify this obscure badge because I've only ever seen it about once on the car, and I'm like a kind of spotter, noting them all down.
Like a bird, it's like bird spotting. It's a really good metaphor, actually. It is like bird spotting because I've been here, you were here for a very long time. I've been here for about 11 years now, and I've been covering Chinese cars and doing these reviews for 5 or 6 years. And it's still how funny when I go on a road trip, especially in more, smaller cities in China, more rural areas of China, almost inevitably, I will go by and see a car and go like, what is that?
Yeah. Well, that's a good thing to say, actually, because I think, quite honestly, the market's often quite parochial in that you have a brand which does well maybe in a small area, which is often around where it's headquartered or where the factory is, but it's very difficult for them to get beyond that. So in fact, when BYD launched the F3, they didn't have the money to do a nationwide launch. So they actually launched it in Jinan initially because they targeted Jinan as having not enough, no sort of strong brand already there, enough sort of economic development to give people the money to buy the car and various factors. So they targeted Jinan as the launch area for their car.
Oh, that's really fascinating. I actually had never heard that, but it makes sense because, like you said, they are very parochial. You go to certain areas of China and you see the local champion. You go to Guangzhou, you see GAC. You go to you're in Shanghai, you see everything that's from SAIC.
And that's often reflected in the taxis that are in that city, or perhaps the government vehicles tend to be skewed towards that producer as well.
Absolutely. And so yeah, you have all these factors that make it so that you will see certain cars in certain areas almost every time. But that's really funny. I mean, that's imagine well, I went to the UK because it's a bit too small for that. But imagine in the US some brand being like, yeah, we're just gonna sell and well, I suppose some of these electric vehicle brands at the beginning do focus only on California, but you know, they go California, New York, you know, bigger metropolitan areas. But to be able
California dreaming.
California dreaming, some of them are California dreaming about being able to succeed, but I having that kind of, it's almost like it's such a packed market that you have to find a little area where you can squeeze in. Well, BYD certainly overcome that phase of their development.
They're the giant in the house now.
They're absolutely the gorilla in the room, the elephant in the room, all of the large animals in the room are BYD. So talk to me about what you notice. You know, like I said, you are physically in China, you know, once a year now. So since you last came in 2024, what are you seeing that's different?
As I mentioned earlier, there are often quite a lot of cars I don't recognize. And it's not just it's a different model, it's sometimes even I don't even know what brand that is. But often they're in such small numbers, it's difficult to work out what they are as well. So there is certainly that. What else? Good question.
Well, let's talk about something, for example, about one of the trends that we're seeing here is, and you as you're covering the industry, the transition, not away from electric vehicles, but towards EREVs, with more and more brands making, offering EREV powertrains in addition to electric. So,
although from what I understand, the actual sales as a percentage of EREVs in China are down.
it is continuing to trend towards overall more electric vehicle sales. Now, China breaks it down in like the NEVs, right?
Yes.
But and we'll see. I mean, things change so quickly that these companies, even though these companies are putting out EREV options at record-setting pace.
Like XPeng's about to or has already. I'm not quite sure if the first one's on sale right now or not.
Yeah, it'll be the X9, right?
Yeah.
Their MPV will have one. Xiaomi's going to do it, allegedly. SAIC's already doing it with their IM
Well,
brand.
the next car, I think, from Xiaomi is an EREV.
The large SUV,
yes.
yeah. Well, that's because, right, well, and that's a good example. I mean, that's one.
Supposedly it's called U9. That's what they're calling it at the moment anyway.
It only makes sense because, as you will have noticed, and I pointed out in our review of the Lincoln Co 900, I believe, all of the flagship SUVs from every brand have a 9 in them. M9, 900, N9. Oh, sorry. Yeah, no, I thought I said it right. It's M9, N9. The point is, it's a 9. And so it only makes sense to be the U9, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, that extended range, because those flagship SUVs, family SUVs, so many of them, starting with the Li Auto L9, which kind of set the trend, were EREV. And I think they think that customer base is more interested in the practicality for their lifestyle of an EREV. And so I do think that the overall trend is still obviously towards pure electric, especially as the Chinese government continues to lower the incentives for pure EV. Obviously, Shanghai.
So with PHEVs, EREVs, they now have to do over 100 kilometers. So that's a new ruling.
Right, and so
all electric range, I shouldn't point out.
Of course, total. Their total ones, and now the total ranges are ridiculous. I mean, it's like well, we can go 1,400 kilometers. I mean, the small sedans can go 2,000 kilometers or whatever.
Well, the BYDs are PHEVs rather than ER, but an EREV is a PHEV.
They are a form of. This is a pedantic argument that you and I have had before. And it's not an argument because I agree with you. You're right. Like, I think that as China's incentive structure changes, obviously, and like you said, they make it harder and harder for these cars to qualify for the subsidies, as well as for incentives such as the license plate things. So for
it's gone in Shanghai.
exactly, in Shanghai, starting at the end of 2024, I believe, was it the beginning of 2024? Regardless, recently.
Yeah, I think it was even earlier than that. Actually.
Yes, they made it so that yes, they made it so that PHEVs could not get the free green plate, so they had to pay for a plate, which is exceedingly expensive here. And so that's one reason that our vehicle that we got for the new Wheels Boy vehicle is a pure electric, but he hasn't seen it yet, so I can't tell him. And neither have they. So yeah, I think that it's definitely going to be trending that way, but it's very interesting to see. I mean, I see comments on my videos that I find entertaining where people are like, PHEV don't care. Nobody wants PHEVs. And I'm
Well,
like,
actually, they do in China.
actually, they do. And I would argue, and I think that there's a huge market for them in other markets. Other markets as well.
Well, actually, one big piece of news recently is that, do you know what the second largest market for BYD in the world is?
I think I do, but I'll let you reveal it.
It's the UK now.
Yes, they got it.
Well, I mean, I don't quite know how they've worked this out. I think it's largely based on September's sales figures, but supposedly now the UK is the second largest the largest market outside China for BYD. Their sales have gone up 880% in 1 year.
Wow.
Now, from what I understand, the biggest selling model there is the Seal U, which is in China, is it the Song Pro or the Song Plus?
Song
Yes. Okay.
Is it the Seal U PHEV?
It's
or?
the PHEV, I believe. I believe. I may. Somebody's probably going to point out that I'm wrong or something. But
that's what the comment section's for.
I think it's the PHEV.
Yes, I wouldn't be surprised to see that. And they're also going to make the Seal 06 DMI wagon.
Yes, well, that's
available,
particularly for Europe, anyway.
It is.
Yeah.
And so you know, it's just people have their own biases, and they want an electric car. So I think everybody wants an electric car. The same way there are plenty of people that say nobody wants an electric car; they want gas cars. They're wrong too.
Yes.
But yeah, so that's one of the trends that I've been seeing here, and then. I'm excited about the diversification of the Chinese car market. We've got an increasing number of, we'll say...
Do you mean BYD and everybody else?
Well, there's that. I mean to say the types of cars that are available.
Oh, right, okay.
Yes, so for example, we're seeing some more niche models. I don't know if you, Mark, as an avid watcher of the Wheels Boy channel, I'm sure you catch every video, but just in case you maybe missed it, you slept through it, the SC01.
Say it again?
The SC01. So
SC01.
a little electric sports car.
Oh,
the one that's like only
okay.
3,200 pounds or whatever.
Okay, yeah. I haven't actually seen one of those cars, but I do vaguely know what it is.
Nobody's seen them. Well, the only reason I saw one is because I went to the headquarters in Tianjin.
Okay.
They have not actually started deliveries yet. I know that because our coworker Justin, who bought one, has not got his yet.
Oh, right. Okay.
So yes, Justin has one on order. But it's interesting to see them. You got the Yangwang U9. And also...
Well, what's interesting, I was speaking to a Neo PR person the other day, and she has one of the ET5 Tourings. Now that, you see a lot, certainly in Shanghai.
Absolutely.
But with the other wagons, I've hardly... A lot of car producers are producing wagons now. I don't think I've seen one other than the ET5 Touring.
This is the next thing I was going to say. We've got this diversification, we got this introduction of a lot of these more performance-oriented models. So we'll just quickly, it's SE01, the U9, the Su7 Ultra, these kind of things. But you've also got wagons. And this is a trend that started with the ET5T, right? And I think you're right. And, you know, this could be, again, this could be a parochial thing.
In fact, one car that you drove and I drove, the A7L Audi, they're going to produce a touring version of it.
Really?
Yeah. I put spy shots on it on Twitter the other day.
That's
or X, as it's now known.
Yes. Don't even get me started on that. I did not know that, and I bet it's going to be pretty good looking.
Yeah, it looks all right actually from these spy shots.
Does it look like a Mercedes-Benz CLS shooting brake kind of thing?
It looks more like an Audi A6 to be honest, but I suppose a sort of mashup between the two. Yeah, it does have a slightly more a more rake to the line at the back, perhaps.
Talk about another example of brands that are overlapping to the point where you don't know what the difference. So that's going to be from SAIC Audi, right?
Yeah.
Versus the other Audis, which are FAW Audi.
Yeah.
And-
And the new SAIC Audi
new,
without the rings.
AUDI.
Right.
I have heard allegedly that there are some people, supposedly some people that in Audi they insist that you call it AUDI,
Right.
not Audi,
Right.
because then it's just Audi.
Is
But
that
they
if you
can't-
have ADHD or something?
Yes,
or
I
what?
have AUDI.
Yeah.
Hi, it's like
I have an AUDI.
It doesn't
It's
sound good.
Have you? Is that transferable? It's like,
Are you suffering from AUDI? Talk
Yeah.
to your doctor about
yeah.
Miracle Grow. I don't
Yeah.
know. They insist that you call it that, or I've also heard them say that internally they call it the purple brand because that's their kind of go-to, that's their main color.
Oh, really?
And they
Okay.
can't, and also they can't just call it Audi.
Right.
Because it's not Audi, it's not the four rings. I don't know.
Ridiculous.
It's a ridiculous exercise in branding. I'm super
Yeah.
curious to drive the car.
Yeah, I'm meant to be driving one next week.
I look forward to hearing what you think. I'm hopefully going to get one next month. Yes, the point is like this A7L wagon or estate or whatever.
Yeah.
Where does it compare? I don't think the A6 way estate is even sold in China, right?
As an import, yes, you
As an
can
import.
get hold of it. I've seen one fairly recently.
Right.
In fact, I was overtaken by one on the highway getting here. So,
So it's just going to overlap and be somewhat meaningless. But you're right. There are a bunch of brands that are putting out these wagons. I mean, the most recent one that I saw, which I'm semi-interested to drive, even though I didn't really like the car when it was in a
actually,
city.
when you're talking about Audis, it should be saying Avant anyway.
Avant, you're right.
Yeah,
Avant.
yeah.
That's the Audi loyalists and the
Yep.
audience are pissed. Is the S9T, I think they call it.
Oh, right. Yeah. Is it the
Stellato.
Stellato or whatever it is?
Yes.
It's another thing that sounds better as an ice cream brand, really,
Yes.
really than a car brand. but
Cornetto. Sounds like Cornetto.
Give me a Stellato.
Yes. Or a beer. It's an ice cream flavored beer.
Yeah.
I didn't really love that car, but I do think that the wagon version looks pretty sweet.
Yes, I have seen. It looks better, definitely.
It does.
Although, having said that, that car does look better in metal than it does in pictures.
It does. I think that my issues with that car were less around the design and more
Right.
around things like the ridiculously stupid screen.
Okay.
I have at this point had close to a dozen individual rants about that screen across various videos, and so I have made a rule so as not to alienate the audience of not talking about it. There are plenty of videos where I talk about how much I don't like it. But yeah, so those are some of the trends that we're seeing in the market when you pop back in here. What are we looking forward to in the year to come?
I guess door handles that don't pop out anymore.
Well, there is probably going to be some changes. That's an interesting topic because obviously there's been recent Chinese government regulations that are addressing
they're
drivers.
talking about it.
well-
It's not actually. It's not definite yet.
No, I was going to talk about the driver assistance.
Oh,
bills that
right,
came out.
okay,
That was earlier this year, but now that we've had a couple of different instances in which vehicles have caught fire. Unfortunately, people have passed in those fires because they could not get the door
Yeah,
handles
one
open.
just a few days ago.
One just a few. Su 7.
Yeah.
I'll put a name to it. It was a
Yeah,
Xiaomi Su
Ultra.
7. Was it an Ultra?
Yeah, it was an old.
Oh man. Well, I'm
In
unfortunate.
Chengdu.
Unfortunate. Very unfortunate. And so it's bringing a lot of attention to some of the aspects I think of Chinese electric car design and really electric vehicle design everywhere that consumers, especially ones that I knew who were not on board for electric cars off the bat, were like, why is this? Why is this a thing? Why do I have to do the stupid handles? And I will tell you, I am more and more on that side. I don't mean to jump on the bandwagon, but I'm more and more in favor of just handles that are there.
Well, I had a terrible problem with the U7 the other day. Trying to open like the boot of the trunk is like,
Yes.
searching around, where's the button, kicking my foot under it, trying to get it open. And the only way I could find in the end was like, shall I, dark eye hole shao. And that was the only way I could get it to open.
Just use voice commands.
Yeah, but I mean, it's completely, you actually therefore have to open the car, shout at the voice control to get the boot open. Really useful when I'm carrying stuff or whatever to try and open it.
Yeah, it's I think like anything when it comes to this tech, there's a swing way towards one direction, right? And then there's going to be a counter swing. There's going to be a swing back. So in the EU, obviously, they've got these regulations about certain buttons need to be physical within the car for safety concerns, which I think is good. And I wouldn't be surprised if China also does something to that effect, and not as a copycat thing, but because I think there's a genuine response, genuine reaction from consumers.
Definitely.
Yeah, to say, this is going too far.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think some of them are going too far. I mean, it's not always very well thought out. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do it.
Yes.
And often it's, I have a problem sometimes with designs because, yes, you can do something as a design, but you also need to think about the user and how the user is going to use it and what they're going to do with it. And unfortunately, some designers don't seem to take that into consideration.
And I think that there's a certain amount of that is just the flights of fancy from these designers. These Chinese brands give them a certain amount of latitude that they don't get at other, maybe legacy automakers. And then there's a certain amount of that, obviously, I think you'll acknowledge that is they almost have to do these crazy things because they have to differentiate themselves.
Oh, yeah.
And what is a blood-soaked market.
Oh, yeah. Too much competition.
Crazy competition. So if you put out if you could put out like a car that is just very practical, very utilitarian, gives people theoretically what they really want, or they say they want, a lot of people are gonna go like, that's very nice. I think I'm gonna go with that car that's got the crazy screen that spins or whatever. That's passé now. I will say we've gotten rid of our BYD Yuan Plus, and I must acknowledge that the screen that spins in BYDs, we had that Yuan Plus for over 2 years, about 30,000 plus kilometers. Yeah, I think we spun the screen twice, and of the 2 times,
Were both of those on video?
yes. I don't think anyone ever used the spinning screen for anything other than that. So I wouldn't be surprised if future BYDs drop that.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Eventually they'll do it. They probably got a contract with they are their own supplier.
Yes.
So they can do it for cost 50 cents.
Yeah, one thing that's quite worth noting is the BYD seal. They did a rip down of that in Europe, and they worked out that about 75% of the content was actually produced by BYD.
Which is an astronomically high figure compared to other companies who use outside
I
suppliers.
mean, Tesla supposedly has this huge vertical integration, but it's nothing on BYD.
They do. They make everything from the batteries and the motors down to the, like there's plastic stuff.
All sorts of stuff.
All sorts of things.
Electronics.
Yes. Mark, that was a very wide-ranging discussion, as they always are when you and I get together. It's hard for us to stay on one topic for very long, which is why our things can go up to an hour and a half. But, well, I think some of the audience would appreciate that. Our editors would not. So we will cut it off. I will bring it back to, however, the most important takeaway, which is purchase Driving the Dragon, the extraordinary rise of the Chinese car industry by Mr. Mark Andrews. I have read it. I enjoyed it a lot. It's a very thorough discussion of the development of the Chinese car market from a perspective of somebody that actually was there. And there are very, very few people who can say that, myself included. I'm, a latecomer to the party, having only started in 2019. So I highly recommend this to those of you who want to learn more about the Chinese car industry. And Mark, thank you very much. Before you go, I am going to have you sign this, a dedicated copy to the Wheels Boy team. We very much appreciate that. But I think that's going to do it for today's video. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
I know you've got limited time while you're back here, so we appreciate you taking some of it to come back and talk to us. And we will see you the next time you come to China.
Indeed.
And we will see you guys in the next episode of Wheels Boy Chat.